You know what he's doing. He's getting everything set up. It's so good to see you. Happy Saturday. We are so glad to be with you today. And we're excited about what we're going to dive in today. And so if you're just joining us, my name is Renee.
And I'm Gil from the RICH Relationship Refuge.
And we are so very, very honored to serve you. This is our second episode of 2025.
Yes, it is.
And last week we talked about working in your marriage.
Yep.
And so this week we're talking about working on your marriage. Kiss me, kiss me. Mwah. So we hope you guys are excited about this episode. We are excited. We're excited about our time together. And so we're going to...
You can go ahead. I'm going to make an adjustment on the camera.
Okay, go ahead. And so Gil is getting the cameras all together. And so we're going to talk about... So, you know, we're working from this year, the beginning of the year, we're working from this book. Last year we worked from the Singles Blueprint, and that book is still there, and those episodes are there. And this year we're working with our couples. And so I said it last week, if you're single seeking marriage, you still should join us for these episodes. There's some things that won't pertain to you, but I would want to know what I need to know before I get married. So this is our Marital Code to Oneness workbook, and we are talking about working on your marriage. And the difference is that working in your marriage is about you working on you, and working on your marriage is about working on the things that make your marriage healthy. What are some of the inside tips and things that you weren't taught or that you don't know? And so that's what we're going to share with you on today.
So when you think about working on your marriage, I know we talked about it last week about all the different things that you have to do introspective and things that you need to look at in your marriage.
Which is looking at yourself and
Right.
looking inward.
So think of it this way. Looking in means looking in you.
In you.
And then working on
It
means on all the other stuff.
All the things. And it means working together as a couple. I want to share something. You doesn't know I'm going to say this. We were getting dressed this morning. We were getting ready. And Gil said, you know, remember when we got married and you paid half because you said that you don't want me to own you? And I said, yes, that's right, I did. He said, but you know, sometimes you make me feel like you own me. And so I just want to say to you publicly, sweetheart, I don't ever want to make you feel...
She always makes me feel great, y'all.
I don't want to make you feel like you are a piece of property.
You know, we always have these kind of conversations no matter what when we talk. Believe it or not, this is real. When we are just around the house or just sitting around, we are actually talking about the things that we share with you guys.
Mm-hmm. And we live in it.
Because that is what this is really all about. So many different videos that you can watch talks around and about a lot of the different things.
They're sharing what they think or what they believe. But the difference between us is that we are sharing what we were trained, what we believe, what we were taught, and what we do every day. So I want to shout out all of the people who watch the video as long as I live. No, that is not me singing. That is another amazing artist. I always forget her name. I can't think of her name
But you'll put it in the comments.
I'll put it in the comments. I'll put the name of the
Because we want to give credit where credit is due.
Yes, because it's not me singing. But the thing that I love about that song, and I think it's so amazing how God is using, I told Gil this, it's amazing to me how God is using something that is the sentiment of our life to grow our community and to give us exposure and help people to know who we are. Because God is my first love, but Gil is my first natural love, and he is my lasting love, and he is the love that I get to enjoy loving. And so I think it's beautiful. So for those of you who have watched and commented and left such kind words and not great comments, but there was one person that left a comment that I had to check myself before responding to it. And the comment was, yeah, you shared 36 years, but is it without cheating? Is it with loyalty? Is it with trust? And so, and the person said, I'm just saying. So I'm just saying, we have over 2,000 videos, 36 years, 20 years of training, and people who know us who will tell you that what we are sharing is what we live. We were talking to Pastor Aaron yesterday. Hey, Pastor Aaron. And one of the things that he said was, you guys are sharing what you live. And so it's really nice when strangers say nice things, but it's even better when the people who really know you know that this is not an act. We're not rehearsing. We are basically simply sharing with you all the life and love that God has allowed us to live together as a couple on a screen, so that when we're gone, all of this wisdom and insight and love will be left, leave a legacy of love.
Because it's not just about we think we got it all together and we got this great relationship and we just
We
trying
do
to
have a good
show it,
relationship.
which we do, but we actually are trying to sow seeds into other people and in their relationship, because we didn't have it. We know we didn't have the experience of people who wanted to sow great things into us as a young married couple, or even
Yeah.
as a couple that has been on this journey called marriage, because sometimes we tend to keep it to ourselves.
Yeah.
That was something that was very challenging for me, because I had been around some people, but you just think about who are married, but you just think about it's not our natural inclination to open up your relationship, your intimate relationship, your most intimate relationship with someone outside of the person you're in relationship with, because we don't want people to think we don't have it going on, or we don't have it very good, or when we are going through rough times,
Yeah.
that there are things that we don't want to show. We always tell couples, or we say it in some of the teachings that we do, people know you're going through struggles and when you are in a bad state when you get a divorce.
Yeah.
That's obvious.
Right.
So why wait till it gets to that point to where it's obvious, because you've been trying to keep it secret? And we appreciate you joining us, because
Thank you,
all we're
Janice.
trying to do is sow seed into relationships and give you things to think about, talk about, practice on, and work on, because that is where the real growth comes in your relationship. Yeah, we've been together 36 years, 39,
39.
39 years together as a couple, but 36 married. But one thing that we have always done is worked on our marriage,
Yeah.
both of us individually.
Yes.
It's an individual journey that you are doing collectively with someone else. And if the other person is not doing the work, it's obvious.
And marriage is only hard when it's one person, because it takes three. It takes God, you, and that other person. And so if one person is the only person doing the work, then yes, marriage is extremely hard. But while marriage is work, it's not a job. But so many times, hi, thanks for joining us. So many times, no one ever shares with us the insider things. And that's what I was telling Gil.
Yes, we are live, for the person that just said that.
Yes, thank you for joining us. Thank you for joining us
Hey,
live.
Jayla, how are you?
Hi, Jayla. Thank you for joining us.
Put it in the comments, because this is a conversation that we go back and forth.
We want to talk to you guys and share with your friends and family. Hi. Thank you for joining us. We love you guys. We are alive.
So what we're talking about is working on your marriage. And if you're not married, this doesn't mean you have to flip off or go to another channel or go watch something else. This is something that you can put in your toolbox that actually is going to help you in your relationship that you're currently in. We're just sharing with you the things that we have gleaned and learned and practiced
and studied
and so
been trained.
And so let's just jump into it. So the first one we wanted to talk about was the spiritual side. The spiritual intimacy is something that you have got to have when you are working on your marriage.
Why, baby? Why?
Because when we first started this journey, we weren't believers and followers of Christ. And we were trying to do things on ourselves. I was trying to do things in and of myself because I thought I was a good dude. I thought I was a good guy. I didn't lie, cheat, steal, and all those other things. Those big sins that most people think about. I wasn't cheating on girlfriends and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things that I realized was I didn't have a lot of answers to the things that were challenges and struggles with me when it came to being in a relationship with Renee. There was just insights that I just didn't have. There were just things that I just didn't know. So one thing that we wanted to talk about was the things that we are sharing with you today. This is not an all-inclusive list. These are just little seeds that we are just trying to plant inside of you to think about as you're in your relationship. So think about the intimacy from a spiritual aspect, and we're talking about it from a daily journey. Once I gave my life to Christ and I actually jumped into learning, what does God have for me? What is God talking to Gil about? That's where all these things opened up when it came to my relationship with Renee. It's amazing that when you think about your own individual journey, how it is applicable to you, but it's going to manifest in other areas outside of you because you're focusing on your relationship with God.
And the reason why spiritual intimacy is important, Because if we don't develop our spiritual intimacy and really let God fulfill us and let Him be the place where we get our identity and our value and our purpose and our instructions, I will come to Gil with my empty self and expecting for him to fill me. It is unfair to another human being for you to expect for them to do what only God can do. And so I have to spend time with God every day and let him tell me who I am and what he wants from me and how much he loves me. So when I come to Gil, I'm giving Gil what God gave me. So we're supposed to be pouring into each other what God pours into us, not I'm coming to him to give me identity and value and purpose. And that's what I think has made such a big difference in our marriage. Because when we first got married, I was 21 and extremely insecure. I was overweight. I grew up in a very verbally abusive home. So I was a lot. I was demanding, I was selfish, I was insecure, and a lot of that weighed on Gil. And so once we did get saved and give our heart to the Lord, it was like he was then free to learn how to be who God wanted him to be for him, himself, the kingdom, and for me.
So you may think about how did it weigh on me, because Renee we just talked about the insecure part that she had just from growing up. You know, we all have insecurities. Even I had them too. But one thing that it weighed on me because she was putting a lot of onus on me to validate and to justify who she was as an
And I was
individual.
doing it.
And I didn't realize that we didn't learn this till years and years
I give you
later.
an example of how I was
Okay, go
doing
ahead.
it.
Go ahead.
I had a problem with Gil spending time with other people. I wanted to be the center of his attention. I wanted to be the only person he spent time with. And that was unfair to him. And it also was unfair to me because I expected for him, tell me that I'm pretty. Tell me that it's like at some point, had things not shifted, I think that would have put a lot of stress on our relationship. And because we got saved and because God began to tell me who I was, I started to realize that Gil needed the same thing I needed. And so we had to let God do it. What somebody is writing.
Yeah, no, we appreciate all the comments. You guys
Thank
just keep
you.
chatting. We appreciate
Yeah,
you guys
thank
joining us.
you.
And no, this is not a therapy session. I just looked at it. Sometimes it feels that way, but it really isn't. It's a session, a community that just gets together and talks about relationship from a positive aspect. You can
Yes.
go and look at other videos that are crazy and got all kind of drama and all that kind of stuff. We're trying to go to the positive side. So we
Right.
appreciate it. So all the comments that you guys
Thank
are
you.
just throwing in there, we're reading them. And if you got something to say when it comes to the topic that we're talking about,
Working on your marriage.
working on your marriage. So those are the things that we need to
Spiritual
do.
intimacy.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So one thing that we always talk about in every session that we either teach, lead, or grow in is talking about the communication side. Why is communication a part of working on your marriage? I'll ask you guys that. Why is communication a part of working on your marriage? You want to start or you want me to start?
Because the first thing we talked about was spiritual intimacy. And guess what you have to do with God? You have to talk. You have to be able to be honest and vulnerable and share your fears and your concerns. And so when you can learn to do that with an invisible God that you can't see, it makes it much easier for you to then do that with the person that you're sharing your life with. What you smiling about?
No, I'm just looking at some of the comments. I love that one. That yeah, we look old when they say y'all look like y'all used to be a power couple. Well, we're not trying to be a power couple. We appreciate the comment. Back in the day, you know, we're 58 years old.
56, 57.
57 years old. So if you want to say that's old, I can go with that. I'm cool with that. All the gray and all that stuff coming on. Her hair is white. My face is white, but that's neither here nor there. But when we're talking about communication, we're talking about it from what did we learn when we talk about working on our marriage? Well, working on our marriage from a communication aspect is we talk about two main things: active speech and assertiveness. Assertiveness, Renee always likes talking about this, and I love the way she puts it because women, y'all can be aggressive sometimes in
Be
communication.
aggressive. No.
When I
don't
say
be
that, I
aggressive.
don't mean being talking mean. Man, y'all got a way with words that could just cut you up and break you down. And while we still thinking, us guys, we still thinking about what we want to say, y'all done already moved on.
Yeah.
You know, so I like the way you put it when Renee was never aggressive in her
I was
conversation.
aggressive.
Well, I
Yes,
take
I
that back.
was.
Yeah, yeah.
I was
The
aggressive.
time she cussed me out, but that's a whole nother video. But
Yeah,
we'll
I was
go to
aggressive.
that later. But change that. Talk about that, and I'll talk about the active listening, but the assertiveness about when you talk about being
Well,
assertive.
we have a whole video on breaking down communication, active listening, and assertive speech. Being assertive is the difference between being assertive and being aggressive. Being assertive is that you are communicating with clarity, grace, and understanding what you need from the other person. Being aggressive is you're trying to make them see, view, and do things that you want them to do.
Yes.
And so that would be the difference between being aggressive and being assertive.
So you come back to that, but you can't be assertive if the other person isn't listening. Listening is not just hearing the words that somebody's saying, what they're coming out of their mouth and what they're talking about. Listening means you are actively trying to grasp and understand what they're trying to communicate to you.
So active listening.
It does not mean you will agree.
And it does not mean that you should interpret it or try to change how they think.
This is a trail that this is a trait that you can identify if you're doing that. If you are already thinking about your response before that person finishes their statement, you are not listening.
Right.
You cannot do both at the same time. You cannot comprehend and understand where your partner is coming from if you are already trying to come up with a response or a comeback to what they're saying to validate, justify, and basically defend yourself.
Yeah. And so I want to go backwards though.
Okay.
Because we know we talked about it, we want to be the how to. The reason why we think that spiritual intimacy is important is because the Bible is the foundational and the authority in our life.
Right.
It's not just what you do and how you do it, it's why you do it. The reason why we say spiritual intimacy is important is because the Bible is the foundation and authority of our life. So we both believe that. We agree with that. The reason why active listening and assertive speech is important is because if you don't learn how to communicate with each other where the other person feels honored and heard, and the way that you do that, let's give some examples of how do you do that. One of the things that is, I think, is something we've not really talked a lot about, but that is the why is I love, respect, and honor Gil.
And I love, respect, and honor Renee.
And so I understand that when I'm talking to him, I have to talk to him in a way. How many of you have a someone in your life that you really respect? And like for me, I didn't grow up in church. And so I noticed that. I noticed how people talked about their pastors with such reverence and respect. And this is as a younger person. I noticed it. But then I listened to the way they talk to their husband. I'm like, well, wait a minute. So why doesn't your husband get the same honor and respect and esteem? Because honestly, the first leader in my life, other than Jesus, is my husband. So if I can't talk to him with honor and respect, me doing it with somebody outside of that really is fake.
You know, I think about even us guys, you guys who've been around the barbershop, sometimes you've heard jokes about the old ball and chain, the wife, and all these negative things. I never placated to that, whether I was in a barbershop or at work. And retired military, you're around guys more than you're around other women. So therefore, you hear how some people are going through challenges with their relationships, and they may not be talking as positively about their spouse as they should be. That is not something you should be doing, period. Because if that's how you feel about them, that means you got to some work to do. You know, whether it's working on yourself, like we talked about last week with working on.
Sorry.
Whoa, I flipped the thing camera. While you
flipped
talked
the
about,
script, y'all. He flipped the script.
while we talk about working on your marriage, we are talking about working on you. We talked about that last week. But one thing that you have to think about now is working on the things that you need to do to apply it.
Right.
So,
Yeah, and so I think it's important that we talk about tone and volume. And so again, the reason why I can have a good tone and volume with him is because one, I respect him. I understand that the same way I talk to Gil now is the way I talk to him. Because sometimes when you first meet somebody, oh, you're so nice and you're so kind, and you're so gentle. And then the longer you've known them, you start talking to them in your kind of way. And that's not okay. Just went
Right.
down some
No,
this way.
yes, okay.
It's not okay to talk to the person that you say you want to spend the rest of your life with disrespect, dishonor, and a nasty volume. And so when you get in the habit of practicing talking that way to him, away
Or
from
her.
away from them, when you're talking to them like a dog to your friends, then guess how your friends are going to treat them? They're going to treat them with the same level of respect and honor that you do. And so, yes, tone and volume is important.
Mm-hmm.
It's important for you to understand your communication style. But at the those are all the hows. But the why has to come from, I made a decision to love and honor this person for the rest of my life.
Right.
And the way that I do that is by every day making a conscious effort. And it's not hard, because Gil is what you see on camera is who he is. He's calm, he's easygoing, he's loving, he's patient, he's generous, he's smart, he has my back. And so when someone is like that, and even if they're not like that, ultimately at the end of the day, you have a responsibility to love people the way God loves you. And one of the things I love and I live by is, I am responsible for how I treat people, not for how they treat me.
Right.
So let's just say you have a husband or a wife and they're not doing the things we're talking about. I can guarantee you that if you lead with love, if you lead with kindness, if you lead with generosity, if you lead with these things we're talking about, it causes things. People, it's hard to be
Mad at somebody when they're serving
when
you.
they're loving on you.
When they're loving on you and serving you, how are you gonna be mad at that?
Yeah.
That just does, it goes against it. You know, the normal operation of you being a human. If you're receiving, it's very challenging and difficult for you to be disgruntled and as we say for us old guys, you're a curmudgeon.
Yeah, don't be
A spinster.
a spinster. Don't be a curmudgeon.
Yeah.
And so that's talking about
Communication. But one thing that you have to think about when we always talk about this, as communication goes, if you're struggling with communication, but then it spills over into conflict resolution, who has conflict in their relationships?
yes,
We do.
yeah, we do.
Believe it or not, even though we're sharing these things with you, everybody's going to have it. But the
Yeah.
question is, how do you handle it? What skills, what tools, what strategies are you using to conflict, to resolve your conflict?
One of the things that we learned, and we started doing this when we first got married, and then of course we've adjusted now because we're older and we're wiser. Don't go to sleep on your anger. Well, what does that mean? In the beginning, we were young, we didn't know. It's like,
How many of y'all thought that meant you don't go to sleep
you don't
at
go to
all
sleep
until you got a
until,
resolution?
yeah. How many of you
Where you
guys
get the
thought
bags
that?
under your eyes and all that? No.
Right. Well, we always
We
say
did it.
The time to resolve a conflict is not late at night when you're tired, when you're hungry, or when
Or
you're
when you're
lost.
lost driving in a
Yes,
car.
that's not a time to resolve a conflict. And so what that means is, don't let too much time go by
Right.
without resolving it and confronting it. And I can't resolve a conflict that I have with Gil by telling my friends about it.
Right.
I have to resolve the conflicts that I have with Gil. First, I have to go to the Lord. One of the things, and I talked about this in another one of our videos, one of the things I realized, God loves us so much, but guess what? He loves the person you're married to. He loves the person that you want to marry. And so when you come, imagine as a parent, somebody come talking to you about their child. How many, okay, come on, mamas. How many of
Y'all
y'all
gonna
like
defend them.
it for somebody to come and talk about their child?
Don't you talk about my baby.
You better leave my baby alone.
Yeah.
And so guess what? God is a father. And when we come to him talking about his children, he's going to check us too. And so we have to be willing to say, what is it about this that bothers me? And so one of the things that I can say that I have learned to do is, if we will go to God more when we're upset about something, before we go to this person that we love,
Right.
God will check us. And he'll help us to realize that the things that we make such a big deal about, if we were to lose that person, it wouldn't matter.
Right.
Because we've had a lot of losses. I've lost my mother, my father,
All the
my
different-
godmother, grandparents. I mean, death has a way of regulating your heart and checking your soul. And so we don't want to wait till we lose someone for them dying for you to realize, oh, I didn't treat them right, or I didn't say that right. So we always live each day as if I'm not going to have tomorrow to get this
It's not
right.
guaranteed.
It's not guaranteed. So I have to be loving and kind and make sure that Gil and all the people that I love know I love them every single day by my words, my actions, and the way I make them feel.
And I want to talk about two or three things when it comes to conflict resolution, and that we talk about that I actually have practiced, and I'm sharing this with the guys. So ladies, you can not listen right now, don't eavesdrop, but for my fellas, my guys, one emotion that we have down pat is what? I'll give you a second. Anger. Yep, you're right. We can get anger and we can reflect that anger at the drop of a dime. And that's because God inherently made us protectors. But should not have to be protected from the ones you love, or the ones you love should not have to be protected from you and your anger.
Say that again.
If the anger that you are experiencing, your significant others or people in your life that you supposedly are supposed to be protecting should not feel the wrath of the anger that you have on the inside of you. So one thing that I had to do, and I didn't have a real big struggle with anger when it came to lashing out at Renee, but I always found that I had a tension on the inside of me. You could say it's from society for being a black man and all this kind of stuff, and from racism that you experience and all these different things. But you have to look inward. I had to look inward at me first and saying, you know what is going on with me? With the part that was going on to me, I had to get to the root. What is the root of me going on? Part of it stemmed from dad leaving when I was younger and not having a good role model and a director who to tell you who you are, who I was. So that's anger that builds up on the inside of you. So that's one of the things that you have to think about. The other one that I wanted to talk about a little bit is when you are in a relationship with someone else, your natural response is not to de-escalate a situation when you're in the heat of a conflict. But has to be a default response, because if you go to a default response of I have to de-escalate what's going on, because you are not going to think straight and think clearly and get to the root and get to the source of what is really going on that we need to resolve. You notice I said we need to resolve. It's not just an individual problem. We learned from Frank and Bunny Wilson at one of our very first marriage retreats. I have a problem. The problem that you're experiencing, or the anger that you're experiencing, or something that you're going through, it's a you problem.
It is.
They may be totally oblivious that you're angry or mad about something. But if you don't get to the root and the source of what is it that has me all up in knots or have me angry, I have to focus on what am I really focused on? What am I really angry about that I can come and share with Renee? This is what's going on with me. And you'll be surprised. 9 times out of 10, it doesn't have anything to do with them. Most of the time, it's outside forces that is trying to come into your relationship and derail it and cause conflict and strife. And like somebody put earlier in the comments, some negative energy that brings it in.
Right.
You don't want any of those things coming in to undermine what you're trying to accomplish.
And as women, we have to learn how to hear their heart and not their words. I understand that when I see Gil clenching his jaw, that he's upset about something, but I don't automatically assume that it's me. I don't have this conversation in my mind I don't think of him in a negative light. So I will, when he's coming to me, bringing me something, one, I'm not going to undermine him. I'm not going to ever share, when he shares things with me that are deep in his heart, I don't share those things with other people, because he has to know that I'm going to be a safe place for his emotions. That when he is at his weakest, I'm not going to throw that back in his face and call him a name, or I'm going to
Undermine
make him feel,
try to demasculate him.
right. That's something I won't do. And so we both have a role in the ability for the other person to feel safe being vulnerable and safe being human. One of the reasons why the Bible says the two shall be one, the oneness, the book is called The Oneness Code. Becoming one takes a lifetime.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And one of the most important things for you to become one is God and all the things that he brings to your life. The fruits of the spirit: love, joy, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, meekness, self-control. I'm reading. I told you guys, sidebar. I'm reading through the Bible this year, chapter for chapter, verse for verse, and so I'm in chapter 45, and I can say,
Of
as a
what book
woman
of
of
Genesis?
Genesis, so I can say, out the box, ladies, we came out the box all wrong. And it wasn't God's fault.
Manipulating,
Manipulating,
undermining.
undermining, and so I said, Lord, please help me not to be like the women in Genesis. Help me not to use my power for bad. Help me to use my powers for good. Help me to
Because
be.
y'all superheroes, but go ahead.
Yeah, but it's what I used to tell my girls: use your powers for good or evil. Don't use your powers for evil, ladies. Being manipulative, being controlling, being overly emotional. Those are not things that are going to serve your relationship well. And so when marriages fail, we always say there's no such thing as marriage problems. There's individual problems.
Yep.
There are things that we naturally have in us, not because of your mother and your father and your grand, but because of
It's just
the
in you.
it's human nature. No one taught Adam and Eve how to sin. It's human.
Yep.
We all have a sin nature, and so in this life with this other person, you have to be mindful of and aware of. Am I operating in Galatians 5 says walking in the spirit or walking in the flesh? Am I operating in the curse, which is he will have charge over me, but I will want to have charge over him? It's in Genesis.
Check it
That
out.
was the curse, that women would want to be in charge, but guess what? Men would be in charge. And so, am I operating that way? Am I undermining him? Am I demasculating him? Am I doing things that are not beneficial to us as a family and
Right.
as a couple? And so, these are all a part of the
Working on your marriage.
working on and it's not just the how,
It's the
it's the why. You got to know why. Why do some marriages work and other marriages don't work?
what are they doing that you are not?
Yeah.
Or what challenges have they overcome that you seem to still be struggling with?
And how did they do it?
We appreciate you guys hanging out with us on this Saturday. This is our Saturday Live Rich Relationship Refuge. It's Gil and
Renee.
so what we're talking about in this session is we talked about working in your marriage, which is the introspective
Working on you.
but we're talking about working on your marriage. And this is from the book that we actually put out a while back called The Marital Code to Oneness.
The workbook. This is
This is
the
the
2024
workbook.
version.
This is the workbook, but we actually have a actual book that you probably can see behind us.
Yeah, there you
that
go.
we work with 20 plus other couples from all over the country to put down these nuggets that somebody put in the feed here. The nuggets that we are just trying to sow into other people's relationships, the things that we get stronger together. We say that as one of our taglines, and this is how we are getting stronger together by giving you guys some of these things that we just either have learned or we have applied to our relationships to sow into yours. We're making deposits into you guys so you can not go through some of the struggles that we did. And if you're not aware of the struggles, maybe these lists that we're talking about today can be some things that you can do some of that, get to the root of when it comes to you and who you are as an individual.
Because every single couple is going to struggle with intimacy, finances, children, communication, spiritual beliefs, and spending time together, prioritizing each other. We're gonna all struggle with those things, but how do you overcome it? How
Right.
do you get on the other side of it? And so again, we don't know everything. We're sharing what we know, what we've been taught, what we trained, and what we believe.
Let's talk about expectations. This is another thing about talking about working on your marriage. When we talk about expectations, the number one thing we actually want to focus on is, are they realistic or are they unrealistic? I had some unrealistic expectations when we got married.
Yeah, you talked about that last
Some
week.
of it is
You having
from
on sexy lingerie.
yeah,
didn't
you know, I was young and you thinking I'm gonna get married and my wife is gonna meet me at the door in a sexy outfit. She's gonna have dinner ready. We're gonna have mad passionate sex at the end of the day. I'm
We
gonna
do
get up
that.
and she's gonna have breakfast for me, all that. That's another conversation. We're gonna have breakfast on. So these are some of the kind of crazy expectations that I had. And I'm not joking, these are the real ones that I thought what marriage was all about.
Well, we were 21 when we got
Well, we
married.
didn't know.
Yeah.
So when I think about that, and once we started growing together as individuals, some of those expectations had to be realigned to reality. You know, you have expectations. Some of them can be realistic and achievable, but most of them sometimes can be unrealistic. You know, we call it the rose-colored glasses effect. We see it a lot with newlyweds that they expect certain things to happen in their relationships at the very beginning, that it's going to continue on years and years and years later. That's probably not going to be something that is going to be achievable if they're not, one, aware of it, and two, if it's not realistic.
And I want to talk about the difference between hope and expectation. We have an episode that we did in our podcast a long time ago because so many times people think that hope and expectation are the same thing.
Mm-hmm.
An expectation is something that you have based on something that you internally desire. And a hope is something that when you first got married and you said your vows, you said a lot of things to each other. And so, and the Bible says, hope deferred makes the heart sick.
And they sound so beautiful at the beginning. So many weddings we go to.
And we love the vows. Go back to those vows. Going back to communication. The things that you promised each other in the beginning, revisit them often so that you don't have uncommunicated or unrealistic expectations, that you're living your life
Yes.
based on hope, because hope is an anchor for your soul. And so if you have things that you've talked about, even now at as long as we've been together, we have new dreams. We have things we're striving for
goals.
together and new goals and new hopes. But if you focus on communication and you talk about the things that you're dreaming about and the things that you want to do and the things you want to try, it eliminates a lot of that uncommunicated or unrealistic expectations.
So many of them are just uncommunicated. It goes back to the very beginning that we talked about today.
You gotta talk to
That
each
you
other.
got to talk. You got to
Yeah.
talk about the things, even if it sounds crazy. Sometimes
Yeah.
those crazy conversations that you have can bring fruit in your relationship that you may not even be aware that you're willing to work on together.
Yeah. And I think it's important that you share the things that the Bible says it's the small foxes that destroy the vine. It's those little things that you don't share with each other. And one of the things the Lord taught me, because I grew up in a house with a lot of women, I shared everything in the beginning. I was still talking to my mom, and not to my mom, but to different females in my life. And I was talking to them out, and the Lord said, how do you expect for your husband to ever learn how to deal with your emotions if you don't share him?
Yes.
Share them. So we have a responsibility to teach each other how to navigate the differences of he's a man and I'm a woman. I'm an extrovert. He's an introvert. How do you navigate that? How do the two become one? It happens through communication. It happens through being vulnerable. Happens with you being honest.
Mm-hmm.
We have a new dream, and I have certain things that I want in this new dream that I've told Gil. I said, okay, for me, there are certain things that you're not willing to give up. And so you have to be willing to talk to each other,
Yes.
because you can't just assume that, well, you should have just known that, or, well, that's automatic. Nothing is automatic unless you talk about it.
Yes, absolutely. Kind of spilling over into the next thing that we want to talk about, Renee was kind of mentioning it a little bit, is taking personal responsibility. I'm not talking about the responsibilities that you have for providing for your family, giving them the things that they need and require just for daily survival. I'm talking take
Can you talk a
personal
little bit
responsibility.
about that? Because, we live in a society with this 50-50 society. There is no such thing as 50-50. I'm 100%, he's 100%. But one of the things that I love, respect, admire, and value about my husband, we got married at 21. This is who this man is. He said, you don't have to work. It is my responsibility to take care and to provide everything for you. That is what it means to be a man and to be a husband. Me, because of the way I was raised, I was like, I love you, and that's so sweet.
But you know what, guys? She wasn't giving that up. She had things that she was already independent. That is something that was attractive to me, that she didn't need me to take care of her. She wanted to achieve certain things by herself. And believe me, she would have done it with or without me.
But I
If
think
anything, I'm talking right now. So she would have done it without my help or my assistance. If anything, I was just along for the ride. I was going along with her and the things that she was trying to accomplish that made it achievable. God talks about it in the relationship that it's not just for all the things that you do as a husband and wife. It is to bring you two together to accomplish the things that he has ordained for you as a couple. And sometimes she'll be in the lead. Sometimes I'll be in the lead. Sometimes if you think that it's just going to be my way or the highway, you're probably going to be end up by yourself.
Yeah.
Or you're going to be on a very lonely journey with the two of you going in separate paths, doing your own things and working twice as hard without it. The Bible talks about it. Go ahead. You go ahead. You can say it. I know we.
Two is better than one. And it is just so beautiful how, yes, God created you to be an individual, and God created you in His image and His likeness. And if you don't get married, that's not the goal.
No.
But when God puts you with someone else,
Man, it's so nice.
it's so amazing.
When
and
you're
it's
working
such a
together,
blessing
yeah.
because two are better. A threefold cord is not easily broken. And so we are saying all this to say the gift of marriage is just that. It's a gift. And yes, we're getting to live it, but we have a responsibility to leave a legacy for the next generation to pass the baton. Everyone wants to talk about millennials and say how they are and what they're doing
How
wrong.
selfish and all these different things.
Who is showing the millennials how to do it the right way?
Or just the younger people.
Yeah. So the next generation, we have a responsibility to you, not just for us to be living this life and not thinking about anybody else. And that's one of the things that's a big thing, and we've talked about it over and over and over again. If you are selfish, do not get married. Marriage is not for the selfish.
Don't even date somebody.
Marriage is for the selfless. Someone who is selfish, and everybody wants to call, you want to. I am not in a position to diagnose someone as a narcissist, but I do know when someone is selfish.
Yeah, I love Casey what you said there. Yep, don't even date.
Don't
Just be
date.
by yourself.
Stay by yourself because you're on the island of autonomy, and there's no room for no one else but you. So just be with you by yourself. And this is something else that I see and I really believe. And I see it as a pattern in people who've been married a long time. Because y'all know I love Dear Future Wifey. I watch it, and I love it. But there's a pattern. People who are successfully married for a long time, most of them didn't want to get married. One of them didn't want to get married. This one wanted to get married. I didn't want to get married. I wasn't trying to be a wife, wasn't trying to have kids. I didn't want any of that. Because I enjoyed me. I liked me. I didn't think my purpose in life was to be a wife. I thought my purpose in life was to be able to take care of myself so that I could be an asset to society. And I think that not that it's that you should, even when we wanted to have a baby, it took for us to give up for us to get pregnant. So it takes for you to give up on what you think you got to have. Because if you can only be happy when you get what you think you got to have.
Or what you want.
Yeah. Right. That's not happy. That's control. There's things that God has promised us, and we have the right to go to Him and petition those things. But we don't have a right to go to God and to try to make Him give us something that He knows that if I give you that, I'll never see you again. So there's some things that God is withholding from us for our own protection because He knows that if I give you that, you'll never come to me again. God, He says He gives seed to the sower. God can give you something if He knows He can get it through you. But yes. If God knows that your marriage is going to be yours and the only person you're going to think about is you, and the only person you're going to serve is you, stay single.
And you'll find out people who are selfish and doing those things and who have those selfish traits, it goes back to childhood of origin issues. It goes back to maybe a lack of not having enough or feeling like they have to conserve and protect what they have as their own.
Scarcity.
They're living a life of scarcity. They're going to be by themselves, and if they haven't changed, that goes back to what we talked about at the very beginning, that they have not did that introspective looking about working in your marriage or in your relationship about who you are as an individual to get better at it. So what I want to finish up with is the last one is probably the most important thing that you have to do when it comes to working on your marriage or working in your relationship. I'm sorry, working on your marriage and working on your relationship is appreciation and gratitude.
Yay.
I am so thankful and grateful for my wife for the things that she does, not just what you guys see from all the social media and all the videos and all that, because she does a lot of those things because I also have another job that I do. This is what she does. She loves this stuff so much.
I do.
That this is her full-time gig.
I don't like social media, y'all, but this I love. I love talking to y'all. I love engaging with y'all. I love meeting y'all in person. Me personally, honestly, I hate social media.
I actually chime in on some of them, but Renee is probably doing, as they say in churches, 10% of people do 90% of the work. Well, Renee does probably 90% of the work Well, no, would you say that? No, I'll take that back. We actually work at this together. She does a lot of, not about 90% of the front work. When
Right.
I would say that, when it
But
comes
for
to the
preparation
thing,
for the lessons and all
for
that, the
when you,
books, yeah.
yeah, all that we do it partners in. But I'm so grateful and thankful for her and what she does, that you always see her lauding about me and all those different things. I say the same thing for her. She is the bomb when it comes to not just social media, but she is the best wife that I could ever dream. God designed it and built her for me. I'm gonna say it. It was for me.
He believes that.
Yes, I believe that. This is for me. Nobody else. Because honestly, nobody else could handle it.
You right.
Because it was built for me.
Yeah,
That's why.
you right.
That's why.
You
But
right.
I am so grateful and thankful and appreciate who she is, and not only as a wife, but who she is as an individual. There, you won't find a more kind, loving, gentle, thoughtful person. Now, she's gonna tell you the truth, so be careful. I'm gonna tell you, if you put something in the comments, or you put a question, or you call, or you ask her something, she's gonna tell you the truth. It may not be what you want to hear, but it is definitely gonna be something that is going to bring you a benefit. She's always thinking towards the good in other people. So I just wanted to throw those little nuggets out there, as they say, give your wife the flowers. She don't like flowers. She
Right.
like plants, but she don't like flowers. Well, I just gave her those flowers, you know. So go ahead and say your piece for this about appreciation and gratitude.
I think that gratitude and appreciation is like it's the syrup over the top of the dessert. You see, I got my green juice in my hand. I could not do the things that I do, and I wouldn't be the woman that I am without Gil, because Gil has made me a more kinder, patient, understanding, thought. He's taught me how to think. He's taught me how to wait. He's taught me how to serve. Because Gil will out. We try to outserve each other, but that brother, Gil, is a hard worker. He's a servant, and I was saying, I'm grateful that I get to serve him, because Gil is very easy to serve. I'm holding this green juice. You guys are gonna see that. Okay, we're doing 21 days of prayer. We talked about how do we connect, how do we spiritual intimacy. It's important that you pray and that you fast. And we celebrated 10 years of being plant based this January. He reminded me of that. And so I believe that your life has to be what you watch, what you read, what you eat, who you listen to. All those things make you who you are. And so we're doing 21 days of prayer and fasting, and because we're already plant-based, we're doing 10 days of whole food juicing. And this is our juice.
She's gonna put a video up that we shot earlier about
Gil
juicing.
shot the video earlier, but to me, it's just like so many times we see things that we're like, oh, that's unattainable for me. I can't do that. I can't afford that. So we're trying to find, because I have a certification in plant-based nutrition, we are going to show you how to do it where it's fast, affordable, and delicious. I think a part of what's wrong with social media, and the reason why we struggle to be grateful, is because we fall into the comparison trap. I grew up poor. I grew up with very little. And so therefore I know how to live on less. And the thing that I'm grateful for Gil is that he allows me to be an entrepreneur. He allows me to be a pioneer. He allows me to be uh, all the things that I am without fear of me feeling like I'm being too much. He says I'm too much, and I know I'm a lot.
No, Renee is light. And when I say she's light, she's not heavy in the sense of all the things that we talked about. She's not a cantankerous woman, as the Bible calls it.
No.
She's not judgmental. She's not all the things. She doesn't try to demasculate me. She doesn't do all the things that I've seen and heard so many different times from so many different other women about not honoring their guys. That it's foreign to me. I have no idea what they're talking about.
Yeah.
And I feel for them. And that's why we do this, because it doesn't have to be that way.
No, it doesn't.
You do not have to be in a relationship that is challenging or struggle, and you always seem to be in strife and contention.
Odds.
You can have the relationship that you desire, but it starts with you.
Yes.
I have to say that it starts with you. Sometimes it's so easy to focus outward and look at our partner and our spouse and our wife to say, you know what, they are the problem. Well, even if you have one little piece of that, you have to own your piece. That we talked about it, about taking personal responsibility for it. You have to own your side of what is it that we are trying to accomplish in our relationship. So,
And the thing that I am grateful for about Gil, I'm grateful for his wise, godly masculinity. Masculinity does not have to master you. Masculinity should enhance you. And I really believe that you can always tell how good a husband is to his wife by the way she interacts with other people. I
right.
believe that I am a result of his leadership and his manhood and his relationship with God. Gil is an avid reader of God's word. He is a student of his word, and he makes us become a student of his word. By his example, he sets the tone with worship. He sets the tone with serving and giving. And I think so many times we see all these negative things about our men, and we think that that's the only way they can be. And I just don't believe that that's true, because that's not been my experience. I remember one of my clients, we were talking, and she said, well, everybody don't have a Gil. I'm like, what is she talking about? Because most of the men in my family, like my Uncle Ed, I love you. You are an amazing man. You are an amazing father. You're an amazing example. Aaron's godfather, Daddy Pat, thank you. I've been blessed to have amazing, my father who raised me, Willie Oscar Rankin, he's dead now. I've been blessed to have amazing men in my life who loved me and cared for me and who have cherished me. So it's easy for me to see God as a father. And so I think sometimes we need to understand that our men, if they didn't get that growing up, we have a responsibility
Yes.
to love them, encourage them, pray for them, lead them. Like I was talking about this. How many of y'all men would be like, I am not drinking that? Be honest, men in the chat. Would you drink this? Let me know. My husband, I make green juice. We are both we're doing juicing and salads.
Just
and,
like you said, nope, nope, nope.
yeah, and so sometimes we don't realize
Casey, yep, KNC,
I
yep.
am trying to do what is best for him.
Yes.
Because he is a black man. He is more likely to have cancer, high blood, and diabetes. My husband has none of those because he surrenders to, we yield to each other.
My wife has a certification in plant-based nutrition. So if she gives me something, whether it's vitamins, supplements, drink, juices, or whatever, I'm just gonna take it. I don't need to understand the science. I don't need to understand the benefit. I know it's gonna do something good for
out on
her.
him.
She nerds out on that stuff. Just like I'm an IT nerd, she's a food and plant nerd. So just like she don't, all the cameras we have set up right now, she don't care about
Yeah, I'm
none
gonna
of
let
this
y'all
stuff.
see this. All this stuff he got
I
going
have,
on.
this is my thing, this is her thing. So if she's trying to do something to make me better, why would I not just take it and just go with it? Because I know she has my back. If I know she has my back and she knows I have her back, then guess what? You do not have to look out for yourself because you have someone looking out for you.
Because you both are not going to know everything.
Yes.
So submission is not just to the Lord, and it's not just me submitting to Gil. It's us submitting to God, and therefore us as submitting to each other.
Yes.
Because Gil has things that I don't have, and I have things that he doesn't have, and so we have to be open to letting the other person lead in their strength and us submitting to that. And so I am so grateful that serving him is such an honor because he does not make it hard for me. He doesn't fight me. He doesn't, I don't want to do that and I'm just going to eat. You know, and I appreciate that because I remember watching Bill Cosby. I used to watch him fighting.
You talking about the Cosby Show?
The Cosby Show. I remember watching him
The
fighting
character of
about,
the Cosby Show?
Yeah, the character in the Cosby Show. I remember him fighting about, I'm like, man, why is he fighting her? She's trying to help him. And so I appreciate Gil's strong, masculine, loving, kind, patient, sexy masculinity.
Okay. Y'all know we fasting, so you know what that means. So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us and all the comments and all the love that you guys are putting down there. We appreciate you guys. We love the interaction and we love the things that you guys are putting in the chat. And we will respond to you if you put anything in the comments or in the chat. Some of it we jump on while we're talking, but we also are trying to give you these nuggets and give you these things that you can actually take.
So we're gonna give you.
So I just want to recap.
Okay, recap.
So if you're just joining us, we've been talking about working on your marriage or working on your relationship. So what we talked about is all the things that we have actually done and still continue to do on a regular basis
daily.
that feeds into the positivity of your relationship. We are talking about spiritual intimacy, communication, conflict resolution, physical intimacy. We talked a little bit about that. Expectations, taking personal responsibility, and gratitude and appreciation for your relationship and for others. And if you want any of this stuff that we talk about, we got books in the back. We got a singles blueprint for dating and marriage. We got the oneness code for that.
Go to Barnes and Noble and pick it up.
And you got the oneness workbook. So all the things that we have been doing and creating over these last 5+ years is just feeding into and making deposits into others and into their relationship.
And we also have an app. It's in the Google App Store. It's Marriage Mentors Rich RR. Marriage Mentors Rich RR is our app. It's in the Google and the Apple App Store. Please go and download it. You can do the assessments, your communication style, emotional intelligence. It actually also helps you to know if you're even ready to date. And there's devotionals on there.
And we actually have over 2,000 plus videos on YouTube. So go check out the long content. We don't do this for trying to get monetized and all that kind of stuff. We do this because
we kind of gave up on that.
If
because YouTube is going to do what YouTube want to do, y'all.
We're trying to make deposits in you guys.
Yeah.
So we appreciate you guys hanging out with us.
And we're grateful for every single one of you. I read every single one of your comments. We love, and we feel like we have the best community on the planet. I mean, like yesterday, I sat for 2 hours and just read comments. And we out of all of those comments, there was only one negative comment. And I know that's not
norm. That's okay.
Gonna keep happening, because I wrote a blog. Read the comments. Don't let the comments read you. But it's so encouraging when you get to make deposits in people and you know you're helping them and you're making a difference. Because what good is what God gave me if I keep it to myself and I don't share with anybody else?
So in 2025, that's why we're doing this. We're trying to start out with positive energy and positive stuff to help you in your relationships. Go like, subscribe, join us on this.
If you have not subscribed, please subscribe. Hit the bell notification so you don't miss us when we go live. We go live every Saturday at 12 noon. And this is a good time for us. It works for us as well.
Yep.
And so even when we're traveling, we're going to take you guys with us live.
Yep, we show you everything.
But we are going to be off in December like we were last year.
So be prepared. But we got a lot of stuff planned for this year. Maybe we do some meetups. We travel around. We do things. We love to meet you. We love to hug your neck and say, hey, what's going on? We've done it last year and the last couple of years all over the country. We do travel. So let us know. Yeah. If y'all want to hook up, meet up, and just talk and chat, you call us. We are a team of 2.
Yes, we are.
This is it. This is our staff. This is the staff, y'all. So it's gonna be either me or Renee. My brothers out there, I know we don't naturally call or anything like that, but let us know if you need some chat and just some words of wisdom, or just a vent. We're here for you. Yeah. We appreciate you guys for hanging out with us. We will see you guys next Saturday.
And so let's give them a
couple minutes. Let's give 3 minutes.
Okay.
If you had something,
if you have questions, things you want to ask us, please put it in the comments right now, and Gil will read it because I don't have my glasses. But if you have comments, questions, something you want to know about working on your marriage,
the things that we talk about,
and if you have questions you want to ask that you don't feel comfortable asking in this forum, please send it to help@richrelationshiprefuge.com and we will answer it. Our website is richrelationshiprefuge.com. All of our Instagram and our Facebook are Rich Relationship Refuge LLC. We are leaving TikTok. We're just gonna let
all
that
the stuff
go.
going on. Yeah,
you
don't want to be involved with it.
We don't want to be involved.
But the other one, the link that we actually all of our stuff is Rich Relationship Refuge. You can go to the website. Everything is there. All our contact info is listed there. richrelationshiprefuge.com.
And if you leave comments in the YouTube feed, because like during this is not going to show, but if you go back to this video and leave comments, we will respond. We always respond. because we realize that you are important.
You
And
are
if,
real.
if it's one person that has a comment, we're gonna respond to one person. If it's one person on here, we're gonna respond. We're gonna be here. We're gonna show up. So ask questions. Any questions you have? Anything you want
They're
to know?
kind of strolling. It's just people just showing love. We appreciate you
Aw,
guys.
we love
Oh my
y'all.
gosh, didn't even pay attention to the number. I didn't realize there was that many people hanging out with us today. So we
Oh, we
appreciate you
love you
guys.
guys. We're so
So
excited.
just remember, guys, we are stronger together.
And you are more than enough. We love you. We'll see you live next Saturday. I'll add the video about the whole food green juice.
Show you something that has nothing to do with relationship. This is real.
Well, yeah, you got your relationship with food. Your relationship with food, God, money, and people. That's what we gonna do.
We'll see you guys next
We
week.
love you. We see you next week. Thank you so much. Thank you for the love, for the comments, for your presence, and for sharing this video so that we can help other people. We love you.
We'll see y'all next week.